Welcome to what is certainly the craziest episode of this playthrough, I think. This is the episode that had the most time and effort put into it, because the Mermalair is a very, very mean and cruel introduction to a world that expects Spongebob to have powers that he doesn't actually have. Our introduction to the second third of the game, where we're supposed to have the Bubble Ball, is the Mermalair, which is pretty much entirely a tech demo for the Bubble Ball. As you can imagine, that poses some problems. Primarily because it's filled with things like buttons that can only be activated by the Bubble Ball. I've mentioned before how there are certain buttons that can only be activated by certain kinds of attacks. This place is full of them, and there's not really any way to work around it. In fact, doing anything in this area other than getting, I think, one sock and one spatula takes an incredible amount of work, and Cole himself, I expressed this concern to Cole, and he actually ended up finding an utterly ludicrous route to this area that he never actually put up on YouTube or anything like that. So this is the first time it's actually becoming visible on YouTube.
Sneak up on Mermaid Man like
but we'll get to that in a minute at the end of this area.
Alright, kid.
This is, however, the only part where I
not what I meant.
think you can really doubt that this playthrough is actually truly possible.
Yes.
It's
Well, why
theoretically
him?
possible on console in the sense that I'm not doing anything you can't do on console. But there are some things that I can't really see you in doing.
To the doctor's office! Away!
Away. For now, though, we can just worry about this opening area where we can skip, thankfully, the majority of it, which is good considering that if we weren't able to do that, we would actually have to worry about the fact that we can't turn those paddle wheels that we're supposed to use the Bubble Ball with. That's one of the many sources of frustration in this area. And the Mermalair is not too nice about letting you see those great things either, because it's one of those levels that's basically just over a big void. There's not really anything much you can just grab onto and skip with or anything like that. So I almost jump onto the next, well, not quite next, but I also skip the entirety of this area right there. But I realize there's actually a socket right here. Which, thankfully, because we have facades disabled, we can just jump on down and grab. Otherwise, we'd actually have to get to that bungee hook by using the Bubble Ball to turn the paddle wheel. Again, that's not quite possible. So I just restart this. I then lament that I haven't actually gone up to the end of this area and activated the box, so I can just jump in the box from here. Because what I could have done was activate that box, then grab the sock, and then restart this area and go from there. Oh no, well, so now you can actually see the skip that I was attempting to use just a moment ago. And here is a good idea of. You're a very threatening enemy to me. Maybe a little bit if you only have melee attacks, but if you have range attacks, you can push over. Anyway, so simple oversight, you can just do that. The best kinds of tricks in this game are the ones that you don't really have to put much effort into. It just makes you think, wow, nobody ever really noticed that? In any case, so this is the problem. See, those of you that remember this game well may recall that there's an issue where there's a paddle wheel at the very beginning of this area that's required to actually access anything else in the entirety of the Mermalair. Looking for a Spongebob there's that long platform with the paddle wheel at the end. You need that paddle wheel to actually rotate the platform so you can get to the main area here. And then from there you still need to activate more paddle wheels so you can actually activate the wall jump to get up to the computer. It's a big deal. So what do you do? I was convinced for a long time there was nothing you can do. Despite the fact that we have no Hans, we have Hans disabled, that really only means we can just drop down into the bottom of the void. And there is actually floor here, but it doesn't really help matters at all. Cole ended up finding this utterly ludicrous route. What makes me doubt the possibility of a human doing this is we're really exploiting what you can and can't stand on. See, this game has this very peculiar quirk where the vast majority of solid objects are really the same kind of geometry. The walls are made of the same sort of stuff, so to speak, as the ground is. So there's nothing really stopping you from standing on a wall, and the fact that the game doesn't let you stand on something at a certain angle. But for some reason, the game is really generous when it comes to letting you stand on vertices, individual vertices, as well as seams that just happen to be at the bottom of the slope, regardless of how steep that slope is. So you can do what I just did there and jump across. The problem is some of these slopes, some of these seams, there's not really any consistency to whether or not you can stand on it, it seems like. And the reason I say this doesn't seem humanly possible is because lots of those seams, it seems like you'll maybe manage to stand on them and jump off them 1 in 5 times. It's not like it's a one frame trick or anything like that. It's just you usually won't be able to stand on it. I haven't figured out any rhyme or reason as to why. So as such, I make it look easy here by stitching together all my attempts where it works out perfectly. Also, by the way, I didn't intend to actually grab the top of that spire right then. I didn't realize that was possible. But when I'm doing things like what you're seeing right here, in many cases, I'm actually trying to jump across and then I fall because the game won't let me stand on it. I haven't figured out how to actually figure out how to consistently stand on that, and then we can get up to the slide and jump across from here. Just jump up the slide. This is a horrendous part to edit. This part took maybe like an hour to stitch together because so many save states loaded and saved because all the one frame tricks I can't really pull off. I decide I need a break for a moment right here. And we're not done yet either. We're far from done, in fact. I don't know what ever possessed Cole to think that any person can ever try doing this, but he managed to make it work, so wow. The problem was, though, the way he communicated this to me was he made a Twitch highlight that was only up for about a week, and they took it down. I asked, "You ever gonna show that off?" He said, "I want to find an easier way to do it first," which is understandable considering this is anything but easy. Except he never found an easier way to do it, and he just stopped playing the game. So it never saw the light of day, and I had no actual record to reference of this route. I just had this in my memory for 3 years, and then I had to reconstruct the route myself back when I recorded just a couple weeks ago. Well, it was more recent than that. Anyways, so there's also the fact that for some reason you can stand on top of this right here. This is actually the trigger area for entering the prawn fight. See, there's also another problem here when you get to the prawn fight. I don't skip this cutscene because I want to use it as an opportunity to talk about things like I'm doing right now. So when I had Collide help me out with this, I definitely wanted to give him credit for it, but I didn't intend to be the person that actually first showed this off. I did actually have to employ some help, so to speak, to figure out this route again. Not in the sense of having another person help me, but I actually needed to work out where the vertices were, because those are what I could stand on. The seams between the vertices and the vertices in the wall. I actually had to understand what the level geometry was, and it's really hard to tell against the really dark, dim lighting and textures of this area, the Mermalair. So what I did was I decided to take advantage of the GameCube's lighting engine, and the fact that it calculates lighting per vertex. So, and specifically it calculates shadows. There's no bright light. So, what I did was I decided I wanted to increase the contrast as much as possible, so that because the shadows were calculated per vertex, it would make the vertices stand out from each other a lot. So what I did was I used the Dolphin emulator's replace texture feature to replace all the textures in the Mermalair with solid white, which would result in the highest possible contrast between the shadows and the actual bright spots, the unshaded portions of the geometry, which, because of the per vertex shading, resulted in the vertices being a lot more visible, and that's how I ended up routing out this whole run and figuring out what I can and can't stand on, because otherwise a lot of these seams that you actually jump across are pretty much invisible. I had to memorize which seams I couldn't stand on and where they were, because I couldn't always see them for this route, jumping through the main room of the Mermalair for this actual recorded run of it, because in this run I wasn't going to have textures on, because that would just look kind of really illegitimate, because I wouldn't be playing that vanilla version of the game. So this was certainly a big roadblock, because if I couldn't get through that area, I couldn't actually get any spatulas here, or any socks except for the one splash and one sock like on the first area. Also, we can't fight prawn because you can only damage him below the vault, and we don't have that. There is in fact a trigger area, if you manage to get out of bounds, that you can touch and I'll immediately in the prawn fight. Problem being that I can't actually get out of bounds off the cruise bubble, I don't think, because it seems like you need the cruise boost to actually clip out of bounds, because you're inside enclosed space. And then after that, even if you get out of bounds, I can't reach the actual trigger. I just can't get high enough or far enough without using a bubble bash or using cruise boost. So here's the problem. We need to do this again, because there's actually a sock that's at the center of this room, at the lowermost level, where we need to jump off of the slide that we actually went up backwards. So, it's gonna be a fun journey. One thing that did help a lot, actually, when it came to finding where the vertices were and these seams on the geometry is, you can see, if you look really closely, that when I'm on a really steep ridge that I'm just barely able to stand on, what oftentimes happens is Spongebob's shadow cuts off at that ridge, the bottom of that ridge, and that line where Spongebob's shadow cuts off is the line that I can actually stand on. This is what I was intending to do, by the way, the first time around, where I didn't actually jump to the top of the spire, I just jumped from the spire here. Utterly ludicrous. I still have a little bit of awe just seeing what happens here. No, I don't think there's really anything as ridiculous as this in the entire SpongeBob playthrough of any speedrun do or anything like that. Definitely difficult parts, but like the reverse cruise boost, which I know very, very little about. Shift has talked about it a little bit, but this, shoo. In any case, we now have warps at our disposal. We can get around here. This is also an area where, unfortunately, we can't really do things as SpongeBob that Patrick is supposed to do. I didn't really figure out how to do anything with the Mermalair area, where you're supposed to throw fruits and the like. I just couldn't work out how to handle it. On top of that, I can't actually access. I haven't figured out how to get to Barnacle Boy in this area, where you're supposed to do the spinning towers of power. And then on top of that, even if I was able to get there, you can't press the buttons without playing as Patrick because you have to throw fruit at the buttons. There are buttons that are only activated by throw fruit. Again, buttons are only activated by specific things. So I couldn't work out how to get Patrick for that. This particular area, I wish I could have taken the elevator. There's nothing of interest here in any way, shape, or form until you get to the top, so I figure I might as well just get fancy and skip this. Plus, doing a skip like this where you have actual spires and things like that, things that are actually mostly horizontal level that we can stand on, as opposed to stand on those walls we were standing on earlier, this feels easy. Feels easy and very welcome. So I just jump along it. Here, and for some reason, not all of the things here on the wall actually have collisions. Don't know why that is. In fact, the ones that you're least likely to try to touch are the ones that are solid, the ones that you are more likely to try to touch, and the ones that are manageable. Not sure why. And jumping that up. And I'm done with the side mess with the artificer, not. And look at that, even more things we can skip. More occasions where we decide not to pay a claim because we don't want to, because we're cheap. So, that's reasonably difficult for me. After multiple tries, might be probably like at least 10. But that's not the point. This isn't to showcase my own skill. It's just the run and what there is of it so far. And we come on to the end. We can make a full segment around here and get all the way back to the Mermalair security chamber, which is nice, the main area. The issue being that we can't necessarily do everything on the way. For one, that button that we just on the left we can't press because you can only press at the bubble bowl. And then after this, there's one more area that we haven't fully explored yet, or seen at all. That's the rolling ballroom. Issue with the rolling ballroom being, again, like, all the things you're supposed to do to interact with the ball, you're supposed to use the bubble bowl with, and we can't do that. So, there's a problem. There is one thing I think is very interesting here, though. And for those wondering, I mentioned before, this game is really, really good at not letting you click through things. I have no idea how you could possibly click through the glass to pick up the spatula. As tempting as that is to try to do. Let's get the sock. We can get all 3 socks in this area, which is nice. All 3 socks in Mermalair. Just not many spatulas. But something that's very interesting that happens, as I show here, is when you talk to Mr. Krabs, as soon as you advance the text the first time, I advance the text once and then immediately quit right there, it actually spawns a ball. Normally you can't get a ball to appear at all because you need to use the ball bolt to even hit the button to make it appear. But you can make this ball appear once. Once per save file can you make this ball appear without using the ball bolt. Problem being I haven't really figured out how to do anything with this ball. I've tried to have like push me into the glass as well to see if you make me clip through. That didn't work. Also, you can see how the ball breaks, which is kind of cool. So I wasn't really able to make anything of that. In fact, I don't even remember what I did with the rest of this episode. What's this next like 40 seconds spent doing? I'm pretty sure I've done everything I can do in the Mermalair at this point. This is just going to bring me back to the computer, I believe. Look at that. So that's all we have. Oh, I was wrong. There are 4 socks here, but once again, all which you can pick up. And there are lots of other things that we want to have, specters we want to have, but we can't have. It's one of those areas that really, really are the reason for not being able to do this playthrough. But things will get better in other areas. Rock Bomb especially. Look forward to that. Rock Bomb will be the next episode where we have a lot more success. In fact, it's not like Goo Lagoon. It's interesting, but a little bit more tricky and cool looking, I think. It's fun. See you then.